What is going on? Jordan Sherwood here. Wood on 1063 on Twitter, FatCheckSports.com if you want my MMA selections as we look back at UFC Fight Island, look ahead to the UFC's return to Vegas, and then also get some Khabib Nurmagomedov news. The last event of UFC Fight Island, Robert Whittaker, unanimous decision victory over Darren Till. First and foremost, it wasn't one of our selections at fatjacksports.com. But if you saw some of the preview videos, if you listened to me on ESPN or on VSiN, I suggested Robert Whittaker to win the fight, but I did suggest the under in the fight. I think what we learned about both guys, Whittaker and Till, is that they are certainly two top five middleweights. Robert Whittaker looked like the champion of old after a little bit of a slow start. A great elbow early on in round one, knocked him down by Darren Till. So now, if you're keeping score, that is 5 knockdowns in Robert Whittaker's last 3 fights. So certainly something to pay attention to come, whatever's next for him. He showcased his wrestling, which we had talked about, and his footwork, and outworked Darren Till. I think we know that Darren Till is going to be very successful at 185 pounds. There are plenty of fights for him. But for Robert Whittaker, who is victorious, and rightly so victorious, I don't think there was any controversy about the way the judges handed him the win. Jack Hermanson or Jared Cannonier has to be next. Those are the only 2 guys that you could think of at 185 that makes sense for a fight with Robert Whittaker, if in fact we do get Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. If we don't get that fight, that's very interesting. You almost have to shelf Israel Adesanya and wait for either Cannonier to be healthy or Jack Hermanson and Robert Whittaker to fight each other. Darren Till likely should get a top 10 guy in the 185-pound division because he's got a split decision win and a unanimous decision loss. So not a lot of huge blemishes on his UFC middleweight career. Shogun Rua, we called for that fight. We called for him to win. That was one of our selections at FatCheckSports.com. I mean, what do you expect out of the aging veterans? I'm really surprised that both guys didn't hang it up afterwards. But perhaps we're going to get a rematch with Paul Craig because Paul Craig, the Byrd Jew, called for a rematch with Shogun Rua following his victory over Antigolov, who was one of our bad plays of the night. We didn't have many. Actually, we did because we all said Nicholas Dalby and the under. I told everybody that would listen that he would walk circles around Jesse Ronson. Good story for Ronson, bad beat for us. Terrible selection of Dalby, who gets stopped in the first round. So we lost with that, and we lost with the Antigolov fights. We were very successful with Carla Esparza. Those that wanted to listen to me, I had recommended that her wrestling and her toughness was going to be enough to cause some problems for Marina Rodriguez. Rodriguez, who, despite now being 12-1-2, great fighter, great Muay Thai fighter, excellent stand-up skills, but she continues to struggle against people that will grapple, wrestle her, and take her down. That's now in the 2 draws and the 1 loss. She's been taken down multiple times against Randa Marcos, Sofia Calvillo, and now Carla Esparza, who's won quietly 4 fights in a row. So that was our big win. We also did have Tom Aspinall with a win inside the distance. No surprises there. We moved to UFC Vegas. Edmund Shabazian and then Derek Brunson in the main event. A 3-round fight, not a 5-round fight, because Holly Holm and Arena Aldana are not fighting. Aldana tests positive for COVID-19. So it's a 3-round main event fight. Don't have a play on that one yet. We do have a couple of things that we like. It's not a loaded card. We had 15 fights. Now we go to 11 at UFC Vegas. But certainly a couple of things that we're looking at, and we'll have our fight selections a little bit later on in the week. Taking a step back and looking at just overall product of Fight Island, you have to give Dana White credit where credit's due. He's been now successful with being able to put on these international events, being able to bring international fighters to a fight card. And when you look at the struggles with Major League Baseball, the struggles with college football, and conceivably the NFL, the UFC's got to figure it out and got to figure it out quite well. And they're going to continue to put on fights. It's just going to be at the UFC Apex. It's going to be on Fight Island. I mean, it's very weird that we're going to see Cormier Miocic 3 at the UFC Apex in a couple of weeks, but we certainly are indeed. The biggest news of the day was Khabib Nurmagomedov, and apparently he's going to hang it up after 2 more fights. First and foremost, we will get the lightweight unification fight between him and Justin Gaethje, October the 24th. We already have a recommendation on that fight, so feel free to slide into our DM, Wood on 1063, if you want some thoughts and some reaction to that fight with Nurmagomedov trying to go 29-0. It's unfortunately be the first fight for him since his father's passing, but a great matchup, great fight against Justin Gaethje. And then apparently if Nurmagomedov is successful, he wants one more fight and to hang it up at 30-0 or have the opportunity to be 30-0. And GSP already been thrown out as a potential option. I don't like it. I want the dude to stay retired. I don't need to see him try and fight Nurmagomedov and cut down to 155 and win a third belt and get a belt opportunity in a weight class he's never competed in. Doesn't sit it for me, even as a fan of mixed martial arts, and I love the discipline in the sport. I like it when championships are defended, and champions are defended against rightful challengers. And I would want to see Nurmagomedov fight at 170, and I don't want to see GSP fight at 155. So there's my opinion on that. For more information, for more tidbits like that, Wood on 1063, fatjacksports.com. If you had our picks, you were a winner. And we'll talk to you later. Enjoy the fights.